gentlemen, I am the Exceedingly Average Gamer here for Planet Destiny, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at the Wormgod Caress, a brand new set of exotic gauntlets for the Titan class. You get them by completing the story arc of the Warmind DLC, after which you can talk to Commander Zavala and pick between these, the Wormhusk Crown exotic hunter helmet, and the Verity's Brow exotic warlock helmet. But of course, I'm a Titan, so I picked these. Let's have a little bit of a closer look as to what these things are all about. So the flavor text on this set of exotic gauntlets is a line from Eris Morn. Have you ever stared into the green soulfire flame? There is terror, but also something warm. I think it's pretty cool to see Eris mentioned here. Maybe it's a hint for a future DLC. Well, anyway, the exotic perk is called Burning Fists. Melee kills increase melee damage for a period of time. Additional kills extend the duration and increase effects. We also see a plastical reinforcement mod for increased resilience, along with a restorative mod for increased health recovery. Now, the real question I was asking myself after checking these out is just how effective is this exotic perk going to be, and how much damage and time are going to be added after every kill. Well, this is where this exotic gets interesting. So, after getting your first melee kill and activating the first stack of the perk, you gain a period of about 5 seconds where you deal approximately 30% more damage per melee attack, even on non-fatal hits. This seems to hold true for your first 2 stacks of the perk, plus or minus a couple of percentage points, after which you get some diminishing returns. So here's a little chart I mocked up to show how much damage bonus you get for each consecutive stack of the perk you're able to achieve. Now, the damage bonus in this chart is relative to the previous stack, so for 1 stack of the perk, you gain a 30% damage advantage over having no stacks of the perk, and for 2 stacks of the perk, you gain a 23% damage advantage over having 1 stack. Now, obviously, we can see that there is a decrease in performance the more stacks of the perk you're able to achieve. Still though, this does not mean that these are a weak exotic. To the contrary, in fact. These gauntlets are great for Titans like me that are PvE focused and like to get up in the enemy's face with an SMG or a shotgun. The amount of damage you can rack up with these is really high, to the point of occasionally being able to kill tougher enemies like knights with a single hit. It's really fun to run around killing Thrall or Acolytes with a single hit each, and then going to wail on the heavies like the one-man wrecking crew that every one of us Titans aspires to be. However, this kind of strength really doesn't transfer very well at all to the Crucible. Now, granted, I'll be the very first person to admit that I am absolutely not an authority on Crucible play. I'm not a very skilled player in PvP games in general, but with that said, I don't think it takes a genius to understand why I say this. The strength of this exotic hinges entirely on being able to kill enemies with melee attacks quickly so that you can then stack up your damage and kill other enemies with melee attacks even more quickly. This kind of thing simply doesn't happen in the Crucible though. Heck, there aren't even enough people on the other team in standard play to cap out your damage stacks, and even if there were, it would take several stacks to be able to get a 2-hit melee kill on a full health enemy, of course, which means that these gauntlets aren't going to be doing you much of any good in terms of dropping your time to kill for the vast majority of the time that you're in the Crucible. And that's even if you can get close enough to punch the enemies in the first place, which has gotten increasingly difficult after the recent heavy ammo changes. Not that that's a bad thing, in my opinion. The bottom line is that you should pick any other exotic if you want something that's actually going to help you. Now, I'm partial to the Mask of the Quiet One myself because its utility is second to none, but you can pick pretty much anything you want. So to sum up then, this exotic is great for having fun in PvE. Every fantasy of punching everything you can see that was instilled in us from playing the first game for as long as we did comes true as soon as you put these on. They're not as technically useful as something like the Actium War Rig or the Mask of the Quiet One, but they're a ton more fun than some of the other exotics that are generally accepted as good. That is, unless you're a Crucible player. In that case, you're pretty much better with anything else, because whatever you pick is probably going to help you out a lot more of the time. Overall, I give these about a B- for PvE play, and maybe a D- for PvP, not failing because in very, very specific situations, they can theoretically win you melee fights. Not that that happened to me ever. Well guys, that just about wraps up my review of the Wormgod Caress exotic gauntlets in Destiny 2's brand new Warmind DLC. Personally, I'm enjoying this DLC a lot more than I did the first one so far, probably because of the improvements that we've gotten to the game between the last DLC and this one. What are your thoughts? Go ahead and leave them in the comments section. If you'd like to check out my personal channel, we will have a link to that in the description of this video. And until the next time, Guardians, I have been the Exceedingly Average Gamer, signing off.